All right, everybody, good afternoon. We have got some Seattle Seahawks news relatively hot off the presses here from Adam Schefter and many others, and this is pretty big. I'm not going to say really big because it hasn't happened yet, but the Seahawks are taking a serious look at a serious piece that I think would improve this team dramatically in the short run. This is something to actually get potentially excited about, and while I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver on anything, because again, we haven't signed the guy yet, Connor Williams is going to visit with the Seattle Seahawks tomorrow. Free agent center, former Miami Dolphin, former Dallas Cowboy, is visiting. So I want to stress that there's yet, to this moment, there is no indication he's going to sign. There's no indication that his visit is even going to go well because he hasn't had it yet. But this is a very interesting guy to look at here. And if the visit goes well, and if they're able to come to an agreement, and if they're able to plug him into the starting lineup ahead of, say, Laken Tomlinson, that would improve my prognostications on this Seahawks offense for the 2024 season by no small amount. Because Connor Williams, going all the way back to March when free agency started, was, in my estimation, one of the top available players. And usually what I say when it comes to a player who is available in free agency in July is, well, he's available for a reason. And that reason is that he's not a very good player, and you shouldn't be that excited about maybe getting him. But Connor Williams is certainly an exception to that. He suffered a pretty significant injury last year that he had to have an extended amount of time to rehab from. And I think he even said last offseason he was not going to be looking to sign with anybody until he had healed up enough to where he could actually show what he could do. So this was expected, and it's not an indictment on him as a player. It's maybe an indictment on his ability to play football in terms of health, but that's an obstacle for another time. The bottom line is, the headline here is that the Seahawks are visiting with one of the best interior offensive linemen in all of free agency, and I include everybody who's already signed. I would go all the way back to March and say that he was one of the best available interior offensive linemen. And he stayed available by kind of a quirk of the, not really a quirk, but he stayed available because he kind of already said he was going to stay available because he wasn't healthy yet. But this would change things a lot. Connor Williams, been in the league for 6 years. He just turned 27 a couple months ago, so age is not any kind of concern with Connor Williams. He spent 4 years in Dallas, started more often than he didn't start, and then he spent 2 years in Miami. You look at his career so far, last year was the first year he missed about half of a season, got hurt, didn't get better, played 9 games. The year before that, he did play every game. However, the year before that, he played every game, missed 3 starts, but played in every game, was active. Played in every game the year before that, missed some time his first 2 years. But overall, even though he's coming off a significant injury that gives you pause, this is a player who has played a lot more than he hasn't played over his career. And not only has he played a lot, he's played well. And he's played multiple spots. You go to PFF, just to try to get a baseline here. 2023, he plays about half the season, plays 9 games, just under 500 snaps, graded out extremely well, especially in run blocking, but pass blocking was good too. Graded out very well, 86.5. All of his snaps played at center. Year before that, playing for the Miami Dolphins, plays over 1,000 snaps. Graded out really well again. Not quite as good, but still very good. Really good player. Plays every snap at center. So last 2 years, he's played at center very, very well. But go back to his last years in Dallas. 2021, plays almost 1,000 snaps. Does commit a lot of penalties, and that's one of the bugaboos about Connor Williams. Although that may have something more to do with the fact that the Cowboys just tend to be an intrinsically undisciplined team. Because if you go to what he did in Miami, it improved. It was still a problem, but not nearly as big a problem. But almost all of his snaps were played at left guard. So he's playing at left guard and he's playing well. He's graded out well, respectable player. All well-rounded, not really bad at anything in terms of offensive line play. And then you go back to 2020. This was the COVID year in Dallas. Plays almost 1,150 snaps, all of them at left guard. So he's got experience at both positions, center and left guard. And again, graded out pretty well. Now, his most recent year was his best year. I understand that. And he was playing center. But to me, this is a significant upgrade either way you slice it. You can play him at center. You can play him at left guard. He's going to be significantly better than the guy you have in there right now. So I don't care that much how you choose to play this. Granted, if I had a choice, I would say left guard because I don't think the Tomlinson thing is going to work. I have more faith in Oluwatimi than I do Tomlinson. Either way, this helps. So this is something that would get me excited. If you bring in Connor Williams at this point in the offseason, get him in there in time for the start of training camp, because training camp starts, I think, Wednesday for us, for the Seahawks. I'll talk more about that in a future video. But if you get him in here at the start of training camp, knowing this is a guy in his relative prime, by the way, 27 years old. Age is not a big concern with him yet. It won't be for a few more years. Knowing that he spent the last 2 years playing in that Miami Dolphins offense, which asks their offensive linemen to move, asks their offensive linemen to do creative stuff, not just block in a straight line, not just keep everything simple, but to actually do the kinds of things that Ryan Grubb might want them to do. That's going to get me excited. This guy can move in a way that Laken Tomlinson never could. And he really can't now because he's old. And while, again, I like Oluwatimi, I like where that's going, I think he's going to be a good player at some point in his career in the NFL. I do really have high hopes for Oluwatimi. This guy's going to be a lot better right now. He just is. So, financially, I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. For one, it's really hard to know what this guy's going to want in terms of money. Obviously, it's July, so maybe he's going to ask for a lot less than I thought. But he's a very good player, and the only reason why this is still a conversation is that he got hurt, so maybe he'll want big money. I don't know. I will say, if I had to guess, we're going to have to do something with the salary cap to fit Connor Williams in. But I'm willing to do it, because the things you can do, I'm cool with. Like, we restructured Draymond already to free up enough money to have our roster. You might have to restructure Geno, restructure DK Metcalf, or extend somebody, or use a void year on somebody to fit in Connor Williams. But he makes us significantly better to the point where I'm cool with that. If you want to kick the can down the road a little bit on one of these bigger contracts that you already have to get Connor Williams in here, I'm down for it. Now, of course, if he comes in here asking for like a 5-year deal for like $70 million, then there's not much you're going to be able to do. But if that were the case, I don't think you'd be having him in for a visit. So I don't think that's happening. Maybe he just wants a 1-year prove-it deal. Maybe it's not going to be that much money. Maybe he just wants to prove he can play before he goes out and gets his big contract next offseason. I don't know. But make this happen, and you got me excited. He's been really good for the last 4 years across 2 different positions, 2 different offenses, 2 relatively different offenses, I might add. And he's only 27, so if the visit goes well, make it happen, and I am that much more excited for the 2024 season. See you guys later.